from a teaching perspective, I've taught cinematography workshops for coming up 35 years now. I thought it would be fun for a semester or two, and look what happened to me. Yeah, I've been with New York University for 35 years and also taught at the main media workshops for 11 years and taught off and on at the New York College of Technology. But primarily I'm a cinematographer. Occasionally I direct commercials that I'm already shooting. My passion is long format narrative, but I pay the bills by shooting commercials because those clients have all the money. So one pays for the other for the most part. I should have pulled up my own bio so I could read it because I can never do it off the top of my head. But I primarily am known for doing beauty and people, which sounds weird because of course commercials have people, but beauty people don't speak, they just look nice. And people, they actually are supposed to be characters and they say things. But so I'm known as a specialist for shooting faces as opposed to shooting packaging and things like that. On the other hand, I also am known for shooting cars. So which those two worlds rarely intersect, but occasionally I do a car commercial where people speak, but mostly my car stuff is dropped into other people's commercials where it suddenly cuts to a shot of a car driving through the hills in Malibu. That'll be me. But I've also done long format documentary. I've got an Emmy Award for a documentary I did. I've shot with, well, pretty much anything that had a camera and a paycheck, I've done it at some point, pretty much. But I can, you can read the bio that Moema distributed. It's probably mostly up to date. I don't know that I've looked at it in the last 12 months for obvious reasons. Didn't want it to interrupt from sitting on the sofa and watching television, but things are beginning to open up in New York again. So I've been shooting a little bit. I'm also, because of this intersection of cinematography and teaching, I shoot a lot of videos for motion picture equipment manufacturers, demonstrating their products. So, which is mostly good when their products are good. Slightly awkward when their products are less good. But my one rule with most of my commercial stuff, as much as is feasibly possible, is I only do commercials for products that I actually would use, which is good because I usually end up with a lot of free product at the end, except for the cars. But no, that's a very short story of my life.
At some point, we'll ask for some stories about working with some of those greats, Martin Scorsese, for example. I mean, you've worked with everybody, it looks like.
I have been fortunate to work with a bunch of my heroes, which is an odd thing to be on set. And you know, I've done 3 shows with Scorsese, and he is the most challenging and most rewarding person to shoot with, because he's definitely the smartest person in the room and has a frightening encyclopedic knowledge of film. So we'll be looking at something and he'll turn and he'll say, you know, this should be like, you know, the shot of Deborah Carr looking over the cliff in the Black Rose. I'll say, yes, absolutely. I know what I'm doing tonight. When I get home, I'll be renting Black Narcissus and trying to figure out what shot he was talking about. But it's nice. He assumes I'm as smart as he is, which is likely not the case. But he did give me my best direction ever. I was asked, I was speaking at a Kodak conference.
Oh, wait, I thought that was me.
Well, next to Dilemma.
I'm kidding.
Don't freeze to death.
Don't freeze to death.
But I was speaking at a film festival, and somebody in the audience said, what's the worst direction you've ever gotten from a director? I'm like, that's a big list, and it's hard to pin down, and it changes nearly weekly. But I had just done this other show the previous week, and I said, I just got the best thing a director has ever said to me. Because what I've found working with students is that they tend to want to micromanage everyone that they work with, whether they're skilled enough or not. And I said, I was told in thinking about how to approach the shot design, the size, lens selection, composition, lighting. He gave me one sentence. He said, this character should be bathed in darkness. And which got a laugh from the audience. And the person who'd asked the question said, that's so stupid. That's the worst direction. Who said that to you? And I said, Martin Scorsese said that to me. So it's like, it was perfect, because it wasn't, he didn't say like, oh, you should have this camera and a 50mm lens and you should do it. It's like, I don't need a director to tell me that stuff. All I want to know is, how is the audience supposed to feel when they look at this? That's my primary job. And no matter whether it's a Zoom call or a feature film or a commercial or whatever, is I'm trying to figure out what image to put on the screen to get across a certain emotion. And he said, this character should be bathed in darkness. And that made me go much farther than I ever would have gone with what we shot, because I was nervous shooting with him. Even though it was the third thing I'd done with him, I was still nervous shooting with him. And he didn't want the network to come and say, what in the world were you thinking when you did this? But I wouldn't have gone into that and said, you know what, I'm going to take the biggest celebrity, I'm going to underexpose them 2 stops and make them really contrasty, because that's an excellent thing to do. But that's where I landed, and everybody was very happy with it. And most importantly, Mr. Scorsese was very happy with it. As I got a terrifying phone call at 2 a.m. after that particular shoot. His assistant called, and I hadn't worried about, I did the shoot, I went home, I wasn't nervous, and and the phone rings at 2 a.m. and Marty's assistant said, Marty and I were just talking about you on the phone. Like, it's like, that's not what I want to hear at 2 a.m. right after we wrap shooting. So, but it was just to pass along compliments. So I'm like, that's okay. You can call me at 2 a.m. for
And can I, that reminds me of something I learned in your class, actually, and maybe you can tell a little bit about that. I never forgot something you said, because I took your class right after I finished my master's in directing, because I did want to learn a little bit of the technical aspects of the craft, but not because I wanted to be a cinematographer, but just because I wanted to know how to talk to a cinematographer, how to have the basic understanding so I could communicate better and all of that. But
which is an excellent idea.
But I also wanted to pass the class, and it got to a point that I was like, oh, like it was overwhelming to me at one moment. And you probably remember I had a broken leg and had to deal with equipment and to do things in group. And I was getting like, yeah, I got a little concerned. But then you said something in class that reminds me of what you're saying now, that I was like, okay, so I don't have to freak out and thinking that I have to know everything. And that was that for you as a cinematographer, there are many types of directors that range in between types like James Cameron, who did Titanic, and for example, and he knows everything. He knows the camera he wants. He knows exactly how the shot will be. He knows the filters. He knows everything, every detail, the technical, right? Everything.
Yep.
And I'm gonna do this again, and I don't like that I do this because she's a woman director and I should know her name. What is her name again?
Well, I probably picked on Penny Marshall because I love Penny, and God rest her soul.
Who is more like what you said right now. She would tell something more like of a feeling she wanted and things like that, like more of an idea, a feeling, a more abstract thing. So, and directors range in that, like, and they're both great to work with because.
Right. They're
Can
both,
you talk a little bit about that?
if you take like this incredibly narrow club, like US studio backed Academy Award winning feature film directors, right? That's a pretty rarefied club. James Cameron, he actually functions the way the popular press thinks that all directors function, and that he knows everybody's job, and if he gets even an inkling that you're not the best person in the world at your job, he'll fire you and get whoever they think is the best person. But then he'll still tell them how to do their job. So he'll march on the set and say, today we're going to be shooting 36 inches off the floor with a 40mm lens, and we're going to dolly this way, and we're going to have raking backlight, and then we're moving on to this setup, and people are running along behind him trying to keep up. And then you have somebody like Penny Marshall, and Penny would come and say, today we're going to shoot over here. I'm going to go talk to the actors. And that was it. you were done getting technical input for the day. But those are two perfectly valid ways to work. Most directors land somewhere in between, and honestly, most directors probably are more like Penny than they are like Jim. But it's a perfectly acceptable way to work if you let people do their job. But they make really different kinds of films. Cameron makes very technical films where you say, okay, the robot enters frame and turns and points a gun and then blows up, and that should take 2.5 seconds. So you need a director that knows lenses and frame rates and resolution and all of that stuff. And Penny Marshall she would only cut the camera when the camera would run out of film, or when her actors would threaten to kill her, because she would give them, about 2 lines of dialogue and then say, okay, go. And she wouldn't cut, and they would just have to improvise until 11 minutes later when the camera rolled out. My best friend worked at Kodak, used to fly to her locations to present her with a case of champagne every time she passed 1 million feet of film. And she would often shoot, 1.5, 1.6 million feet of film, because she never cut. But those are the films that she makes. Her films are all about relationships, and your job as a cinematographer is not to get in there and stomp all over the performances, to step back. And it's even when it's not comedy, you kind of have to shoot it like comedy, so that the audience feels like they're discovering things, so that they're poking each other and said, did you see that? As if the filmmakers didn't know they captured it. Which is different from Cameron, who's saying, look at this, now look at this, now look at this. And it's all very guided. But it's 2 different styles, so they work 2 different ways. And they've had their problems with cinematographers. Cameron has upset more than a few cinematographers, more than a few really great cinematographers, who just feel like he's in their back pocket all day. And Penny Marshall has upset some DPs who feel like they're directing half the show because they never they're not getting any input about shot selection or things like that. Somewhere in the middle, that's where they aim for.
So before we continue, and I want to hear the feedback from everybody, one of the reasons I thought having Mark today would be great is I had him in one of my classes talking about ways we can light the, if you want to self-record, or if you have a Zoom that you want to have it lit better, and the challenge was, let's say you only have your top light, you have nothing else, or you have maybe one extra light or something like that. What can you do? And it was a great class, and he gave great suggestions. And so I thought it could be a good idea here too, like how for him to give us ideas of how to be able to do that with the only resources we have. But Mark also, as you see, have amazing stories and other wonderful tips. So what do you all think? Like, what do you all want? And so help me out here. Anybody?
This setup is I was trapped on a phone meeting until 5 minutes until I was supposed to be here. Look, I thought, oh, these people want to know how to make Zoom look good. I should make an effort. And then the phone rang, and here I am. So this is the bare minimum. But I did put up the Northern Lights for you back there.
So please, somebody says something, jump in, help me out.
Actually, can I ask some questions? I'm interested in just some of the trends. I mean, you've been doing a lot of commercial shooting, so you go wherever somebody wants a camera. But I work in inclusive design, and so to some extent, a lot of what we do is to contest sort of the beautiful images, or even the what we call inspiration porn, or the which is the disguising the real personalities, the diversity, the difference, the flaws as they're viewed by some people. Do you think that there is a greater acceptance or less pressure to look beautiful, or the sort of the particular popular view of what is beautiful, and especially to contest mainstream society view of what evokes what type of positive emotion, or whatever influence you want? Do you think that there is a maturing of videography? And it's unfortunate, because even documentaries involving people are tending towards more of a homogenization and a beautification. I mean, reality TV is pretty horrific, but what do you think are some trends in video?
It's interesting that I can never say it to my client's face, but I always think in my head, I always get hired on documentaries because they say we want it to have a very polished commercial look or a feature film look. And then I get hired on narrative stuff because they say we want it to have a documentary vibe to it for authenticity. And which makes me think, like, it'd be interesting to make the documentaries look like documentaries and the features look like features, but there isn't that much of a distinction anymore. And I also work in one of the shallowest departments of that, working on beauty stuff, selling makeup and things like that. And a lot of what I do is cosmetics, which their whole thing is that perfection is achievable. That's the basis of the cosmetics industry. Like, if you buy the right product, you can be perfect, which is tough. But even in the last, I want to say the last year, except the last year, whatever the last year we were actually working, they started to be willing to show sort of the behind the scenes that instead of always presenting the after, they would do before and afters. And so a lot of what I was doing was, you know, here's the person before the makeup application, and here they are afterwards. And they never would have showed that a couple of years ago. They've now decided like that's okay, so that it's now, at least it's presented as a choice. Like if you want to look like this, if you want to get dressed up for yourself, and it's all very much presented as doing this for yourself. And all of my cosmetic clients, they're all women. They're every last one of them. And they will be the first to tell you they do not dress up for their partners or potential partners. They dress up for themselves, which I fully believe. That most of them have. I'm struggling with adjectives. Perhaps it's just me that find most of their personalities frightening, but probably they're very appealing to the right sort of person. But it's a lot of surface with them. A lot of advertising is, particularly in the last 10 years, when they found out that if you showed a commercial to millennials, if you showed a commercial to Generation Z, they would just hate you. Like you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to show the commercial. You just had to say, we're about to show you a commercial about this. And they'd say, we don't want to buy your product. So they had to try and figure out, it's like, how do you market to people who hate and mistrust marketing? So it all became aspirational lifestyle, which I then saw completely blow up on Instagram, because every person who's an influencer, that's essentially aspirational lifestyle. And they say, I'm living this wonderful, wonderful life, and I just happen to use this phone or this skin cream or whatever it is. So that was definitely a switch in the advertising world. For documentary, it goes back probably 20 years, because it used to be documentary was just get the content, you chase the content, and if it was the shot was wobbly or you were hunting for focus, that's fine, because the content was king. And until they came up with 24-hour cable, and there were then Discovery Channel, which is actually like 18 channels if you ever look at it, Discovery Aviation and Discovery Marine and Discovery Lifestyle and Discovery Plus and Discovery Motor, and that's just one channel, and they have to feed all these 24 hours a day. So that as television went from appointment viewing, where you'd say, I'm going to watch American Masters on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, where it went to destination viewing, where you'd walk in a room and turn on the channel. When I turn on my TV in the morning, it's Motor Trend TV. It's like whatever Motor Trend TV is showing is probably fine while I'm making toast. So that's destination viewing. And they learned that you had to have visually arresting images to stop somebody from changing the channel. It's the same reason why they'll spend $200,000 making a documentary, and then they'll pay $100,000 to a big shot star to record the voiceover, because you'll be flipping around and you'll hear Peter Coyote's voice, and it's like, ooh, this sounds well made. Well, I wonder what this is. I'll stop and watch this for a while. And it's a worthwhile trade-off. They could have gotten somebody from scale to give the exact same reading, but they hire celebs because it gives a certain gravitas to their product. But
it also normalizes that, though, and so people expect it, and so they no longer pay attention to the real stuff. But yeah.
And the technology is responsible for it also, because I come from the days of shooting documentaries on film, where it was hugely expensive, and you had to really commit, and hopefully it looked pretty good. And now my phone can make better images than what we were shooting on film 20 years ago. So that there's been this sort of democratization of the film equipment that has gotten cheaper and smaller and cheaper and smaller. It's just amazing. I was reading a review this morning of Sony's very latest camera, which is, people are grousing about why doesn't it have this feature, why doesn't it have this feature, and I just want to smack people and say, you know, this camera would have been a $1 million camera 10 years ago, and now you can buy it for $5,000. That's just, how can you be upset about what fantasy things it doesn't have? Yeah, but on the other hand, we still have webcams like the one that's in my very expensive computer that looks like they paid nearly 50 cents for, that makes me look like this. So it's like ghastly no matter what I do. A little other lighting will help. There's a lot going on in the environment I'm sitting in, because I'm actually blocking, like blasting daylight from coming in on me, or I would just turn into a ghost.
I have a question in terms of, so sorry, short story, just because I am committing to submitting a short film for this DigiFest, which I've been trying to film today. But so I took a film class back in when I was a junior, senior in high school, so 2003, 2004. And the last film that senior year we got to use computers, but my junior year we still were on VHS edit bays, and boy was
that's a character builder right there.
That was something else, let me tell you, something else. And it was just so interesting being in that cusp of, oh my gosh, we're moving into technology. So my senior year, we got to use, that was the first year we had Final Cut Pro at our school. But anywho, that kind of leads me to my question of how are you viewing accessibility now, since, as you just mentioned, everybody can film from their phone now. And well, I don't know how to pinpoint my question actually, but I'm thinking of TikTok specifically, and how I've just seen incredible things on TikTok, whether it be content or now everybody can talent their skills at a very quick rate. So I guess, what do you see now evolving now that there are forums such as TikTok? So you don't necessarily have to go out and purchase a camera that's super expensive and then find a way to edit it and things like that. How do you feel about that the way this is transitioning now?
I think something like TikTok proves that it was always about the ideas, you know, that was the most important thing, because anybody can buy a camera, but not everybody can have a good idea. And I've been a judge at film festivals more times than I care to remember. And if anything wants to make you lose faith in humanity, it's watching 900 student films. So it's nice. I think it's nice that the barrier to entry is so low now, that you can go and make a feature film with your phone if you wanted to. And God help us, I think we're about to be buried under a zillion of them following lockdown. But I have seen some, you know, the first feature made under lockdown, the second feature made under lockdown, and you just look and it's like, wow, this looks like they shot it with their Ring doorbell, but God bless them for actually getting it done. I think that TikTok serves kind of the same purpose as like a film festival, or like making short films. To my knowledge, no one has ever made money making a short film. No one has retired because they made a really swell 3-minute short. You make them as a showcase. You make them as a calling card. and they get attention from the people who do have the money, because it's important to always try and spend other people's money for your creative endeavors. You know, if TikTok is going to get people's attention, then that's what you do. I've actually been, I'm still sad that Vine went away. I missed the 5-second film. But I've been writing a bunch of 5-second movies for an actor friend of mine who wants to sort of up her profile again, that she wants to prove that she's still here and still relevant. And so I've been trying to come up with the shortest sort of single joke films, and there was no outlet for that a couple years ago, just none, you know. But now it can be on Instagram stories, it can be on TikTok, it can people don't even have to go find your website to look at something. So I think that's all good. I think hopefully the cream will rise to the top, but I think it's good that everybody is out there shooting. It was, you know, I've been teaching filmmaking for so long. I would have really gifted students go through the program, and it was just sad that when the program ended, when they lost access to the school's equipment, they just weren't going to be making films anymore. Because to rent a motion picture camera, to put film in it, to send it to the lab, to process it, to sound mix, it's just prohibitive. And then people would, you know, finish film school and promptly leave the industry. So now it's every year it's cheaper to do and get better results. And you know, as much as professionals will sneer at the idea of shooting something substantive with a phone, it's like I've got students who've done real quality documentary work. And you know, you think about the biggest assets in documentary are knowledge of the subject and access and just being there. You know, just it's like, yeah, you can hire me and I can roll in for a couple of days, but you're there every day and you've got a camera in your pocket, you are going to get the most interesting footage. So, and sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I cut you off. Well, I don't want to take up too much time because I'm asking a second question now. But one of the goals that I have for where I work at currently, which is Northwest Indian College, is to try to get both a radio station and television broadcasting on campus. And so just randomly, do you happen to know resources, or because I don't have a background in this, but I know that it would be a very amazing opportunity to do like cross-curricular learning and things like that for our campus. But I don't even know where to start when it comes to the resources on how to do things like that. Anyways, that was just a side question.
Well, it's my advice about many things is, you know, hold your nose and take a dive into YouTube, and just don't stop at the first 10 videos you see, because there's a lot of junk and misinformation, but you're going to find one that clicks with you or might have your exact model case presented. It also helps to filter results by dates if you're doing anything involving technology, like what's a good, I need to do live streaming, or I want to do multi-camera event switching or something like that. It's like, don't look at stuff from 2 years ago because it might as well be 30 years ago. But particularly during lockdown, there was a lot of creative people who were bored or trying to remain relevant, who put a ton of stuff for free online. It was really astonishing. Workshops that would have cost you thousands of dollars, people are selling for like 19 bucks, or just put it on their website and hoping to gain followers. So there is a lot of good stuff out there. yeah, and television studios, you know, you didn't used to be able to go near a television studio for less than $5 million. And now you can build a whole studio top to bottom for 10 grand. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I just want to go back a little bit about what you were mentioning about short films and what they are and what they're for, and just made me think a little bit of, in a more artistic way, how art in general, I think sometimes, like how in a way it is kind of even said that it, in a way, it's so much work and can cost so much to be able to finish or make a short film, and that it ends up just being something that is so hard to put out there. And at the end of the day, it normally only serves to be a door for something else. It's very rarely appreciated just for the art that it is itself. Does it make sense? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, no, this is something that an artist put a lot of time in doing, and because of the way there is this whole industry behind it, and it's an art that I guess it's viewed so much as dependable of the opinion of the viewer. Yeah, it's a harder it's a harder art to be just appreciated for what it is, and it's always seen as a mean to something else. But I do think that we can appreciate it like as what it is for
That we
itself.
should.
But
I'm
but,
intrigued.
you know,
During lockdown, Disney Plus started a program both with their Pixar artists and their Disney Animation Studio artists of letting them make short films during lockdown, or collaborate on making short films. And it's interesting that they're pitched on the Disney Plus platform as being short films. They're not pitched as, here is a cartoon. They pitch it as their shorts program, their emerging artist program. And I've seen, you know, wonderful stuff, everything from a film made by the guy who does their temporary music scoring to somebody who is their intern and like literally entered the shot for his interview on a skateboard holding a Starbucks, and everything in between. So I think that the capacity is there, particularly, you know, it's no surprise Disney Plus has a lot of programming hours to fill. But I think that there's the potential now, as people have, you know, forever increasingly shorter attention spans, that there are markets now for this stuff. They've got built-in brand loyalty just by saying, here's a Disney short film. But the fact that they're doing experimental programs, they've done 3 different waves of experimental shorts. And they're specifically trying to do, you know, they wanted to represent the Asian community. They wanted to represent the gay community. They want, you know, it's not just here's talking kittens or whatever they might have otherwise had. But I have so many opinions on what we should and shouldn't do with short films, having been a festival judge for so many years. I can give you my top 10 rant about
yeah.
what not to do. First of all, just a peek behind the curtain at the judging room. So you go in the judging room, you come in the morning and you watch a feature film. And then if you're feeling responsible, you watch another feature film. And then you go to lunch, and most of the judges drink during lunch. And then you come back from lunch and nobody is into it anymore because you've watched 2 feature films already and now you're buzzed. And so you say, let's watch some shorts. And so you hold up a disc and there's only one question that anybody asks: how long is it? And if you say it's 7 minutes, like, all right, put it in, let's watch it. And if somebody says, oh, 35 minutes, like, oh, like, why are they even in this business? 35 minutes. They've just advertised. They don't have enough ideas to make a feature film, and they don't know how to edit themselves. So these are the 2 things I know, because the festival said the limit is 35 minutes and they made a 34-minute and 59-second film. It's like, screw those guys. It's put in the 7-minute one. Every Bugs Bunny cartoon ever was 7 minutes. You can tell a lot in 7 minutes. So don't waste your resources. I have watched student films do this for 30 years. If you say you can make an 8-minute film, or you could make a 4-minute film and be able to spend twice as long on everything and twice the resources on everything, and they will undoubtedly listen to that, nod, and then make a 15-minute film. They can't help themselves, and they really should. That's because you're trying to prove you know how this works and you know how to tell a story. And I've never seen a 15-minute student film that couldn't have been 7 minutes. Yeah, so keep it short. There's a lot you can do in a short period of time. And if you're going for a festival entry, don't waste your whole budget getting some sitcom star who always wanted to do drama. Just get actors who are thrilled to be there. If you're trying to sell it to some distributor, then maybe some star power will be good. But it's always interesting, the sort of the East Coast mentality versus the West Coast mentality. The West Coast shorts, they would always try and populate them with B stars who were waiting, but then they would blow their whole budget, like driving them back and forth to set and giving them a catered lunch and giving them a nice place to stay. And it just would have been better if they got their friend from acting school to just do it and do a nice job with it. And then trade favors for everything. Spend money where you have to, but as much as I like to spend my clients' money when I do things, every advance that I have ever made in my career has followed me spending my own money to make something, because it may just be my clients who have no imagination, but I'm guessing that's the situation with a lot of people who are in charge of the bank account, that they can't look at your stuff and say, well, they're really good at doing these things, they'll probably be good at doing this other thing we haven't seen them do. It's like they want to see it already. They want to see it with somebody else's title on it. So I've done it, and I've spent a lot of money doing things and had moderate success, and I've spent almost no money doing things and had huge reactions from people. So, and again, it was always just a matter of whether it was a good idea or not. It didn't really matter how much money I threw at it.
What is that example, Gabby? Sorry, I just got curious, like you're talking. It's on this chat, Mark.
Oh, Mark mentioned, like, if you end up trying to pay like a celebrity, your budget goes towards that. But I put in the chat, it made me think of that. If you watch Schitt's Creek, where they hire Myra for the crow, trying to dodge the budget, and she's the kind of like past actress.
Okay, it's okay.
Sorry, I had my chat off.
I love that.
Okay. It won a lot of prizes, right? I didn't start yet. I thought I wanted to start, and I haven't. It's a good show.
Oh yeah,
It's fun.
It's very well done.
Yeah.
and you'll see people that you know in those characters.
Yeah.
That's what really does it.
It's cool.
It's like, oh my gosh, he's just like my neighbor. Yeah.
I also like that
Yeah.
they made the decision before they started. You know, Eugene Levy developed it with his son, and they said, let's have a world where there are straight people and gay people, and we'll just never mention it. So they never say anything bad about the gay community, and they never pat themselves on the back for saying good things about the gay community. They just don't. It just never comes up, and they just have gay characters and straight characters, and that was a deliberate choice of theirs before they even started.
Yeah, I saw they won a bunch of prizes. I just never seen it. I want to check it out.
For me, it's kind of like watching the original British version of The Office, which the Ricky Gervais version, which is like, this is extremely well done, and it makes me so uncomfortable I have to leave the room. So I can't binge Schitt's Creek. I can only watch a couple episodes because it's just, there's so many uncomfortable things that happen. I can take a little at a time.
Yeah. I don't. Mark, do you want to? I don't know. One of the stories I like, but I don't know if we even have time now. I really like how you started. Like you were in theater. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that or not.
Getting flattened by a Plymouth, that story.
I don't know.
That's got potential.
Well, it always comes, every time I do a workshop, understandably, students always say, how did you get started? Because they all want to get started. And it's like, well, I was in a horrific car accident and spent 2 years in a hospital bed. That's how I got started. I had nothing to do.
But you were in theater before.
I was. I actually
Yeah.
had a career in lighting design for theater, and I loved movies. Ever since I was a kid, I loved movies. And for whatever reason, it never occurred to me to go and do that. But somehow making theater made sense. But the difference between making movies and doing theater is that if you have some success in filmed entertainment, you can actually make a living, as opposed to theater on 95% of the lower level. Yeah, I was always intrigued with film, never considered it as a career. Got hit by a drunk driver, spent 2 years in a hospital bed, bought a VHS deck for $850 because that's what they cost back then. was a brand new thing. And watched every movie at the video store back when you had to have a membership and join a video store, because a VHS cassette was $80 at the time. It's not hyperbole when I say I watched every movie over the span of 2 years. I watched every movie, it's dramas, documentaries, exercise videos, they would just, once the video store figured out why a different person came and dropped off and picked up cassettes every other day, they stopped charging, and they just sent shopping bags full of cassettes, just whatever they had just gotten in, they just fill a bag. So I just watched whatever. This was pre-cable TV and pre-internet. Not the best way to spend 2 years in bed. So when I was learning to walk again, for physical therapy, I started helping out on student film sets. And so electricity is electricity. So I figured out I could be a lighting technician. And then after doing that for a while, quickly realized I knew more than the people I was working with, and started working as a gaffer. And then got my first job as a cinematographer by having somebody ask me if I'd be the gaffer on their film. And I said, no, but I would be the cinematographer. And they said, okay. So then I got my first professional cinematography job by being at a party, which I absolutely hate because I have social anxiety. And I had somebody introduce themselves.
Sorry, can you just go back a little bit and talk what the gaffer does?
They're the chief lighting technician on the set. So me as a cinematographer, I would say to a gaffer that I don't know well, I'd say I would like a 4K HMI 20 feet that way, 15 feet up in the air, coming back here in an F4. And if I'm working with my gaffer who I work with all the time, I'd say, John, I need a big hit of happy sunshine coming in the window. I'm going to go talk to the director. But so I'm not allowed to touch anything on set. I just point at the people who do the work. But as a cinematographer, I'm responsible for all the decisions that affect camera, lighting, and the grip department, which includes moving the camera. But yeah, the chief lighting technician. That name is actually changing because the second in command of the lighting department since the dawn of time has been known as the best boy, and there's a lot of female best boys, and best girl sounds weird and nobody likes it. And they tried to just call it best for a while, but you're not going to tell your parents you were the best on this film crew. So that became the ACLT, the assistant chief lighting technician. And so now gaffers are sort of being forced to become chief lighting technicians by just logic. But that's fine. In the mid 80s, we survived the camera assistant, the person responsible for building and maintaining the camera equipment and then ensuring that every shot is in focus, which is the hard part. They used to be called assistant cameramen, and their job was abbreviated AC. So the first AC, the second AC. So they went through assistant camera person, which nobody liked. They went through various flavors, and they finally landed on camera assistant, which I don't think anyone was ever happy with, but they just stuck with it. But they forgot to change the initials. So camera assistant is still abbreviated to AC on all the call sheets.
And there's a question on the chat for you. And I haven't, but I want to. It's good. Is it good, Gabby? You watched? Yeah.
I want to watch it. I haven't watched it. What platform is that on? Is that...
It's on Netflix, but you're talking about the VCR and the VHS. I had no idea, and I just watched that movie yesterday.
There you go. It is the trouble with being in a technology-based craft, is that it's very easy to make it sound like I've been shooting since the Civil War, but just casually speaking to my students. That's just even saying, like I got called in to do some very big beauty campaigns because as they breathlessly explained to me, they didn't know anyone old enough who knew how to shoot film. Like, thank you very much. I'm just going to go lie down now. But yeah, so yeah.
Keep in our studio at our campus, like a high 8 player and a old microfiche thing. Like, I love that old stuff. I don't know where I get that from, but it just sits there. But someday somebody's going to come in with something. I'm going to be like, I can play that. I can show you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a guest semester at a local university here, and there was one student who got very excited about that sort of old VHS camera technology, and they dusted off everything in the cabinet because it was a state school and they're not allowed to ever throw anything away. So they have every piece of equipment they have ever had ever. And so I was again in the enviable position of saying, yeah, I know how to make cameras from 1980 run. But they wanted that vibe. And of course, now you can add the VHS filter to your TikTok video. And mostly when I lecture about cinematography technology, one of the things that I can't help blurting out over and over to the students is like, you don't know how lucky you are you missed analog video. It's like, you should wake up every day and thank God that you just missed standard def analog video, because making that crap look good, it's like, golly, it's like my phone is 4K 120 frames per second. Like try doing 480 interlaced lines with a camera that weighs 50 pounds and runs for 10 minutes before it needs a battery change. So
Are your reels of film recorded, Yuta, or you know what I mean?
We've been transferring some of them, but I have stuff back from the 1920s. So,
Wow.
yeah.
wow, you should keep those outside.
Oh, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So cool.
If they're genuine nitrate, hopefully they're safety stock. If they're genuine nitrate, do not keep them in your house.
No, they're not, luckily not in the house. So.
Okay. Also, don't keep them next to anything you care about.
Then Mark, I have to go. It's been a pleasure listening to you, and my ears totally picked up when you talked about the standard definition video stuff, because that was my domain for a while there of in journalism side, and analog, you know, A and B and all that.
We all bear those scars still.
Yes, exactly. My therapist says sometime soon I'll be okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I got to hit the road, but
Thank you.
This has been fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, it is 4 o'clock. I don't know. Shall we wind up and have you come back again? I mean, this has really been an interesting, fascinating hour of conversation.
I'm happy to come back. Like every cinematographer, I have no shortage of stories about myself where I look like a hero and everyone else looks like jerks. So
that's definitely, we will invite you back. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Any final comments or from anybody? Again, this has been a really great session.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for coming last minute
Thank you.
again.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'll dress up next time and shave.
Again, thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you. And this will be on our posted on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch this as many times as you want.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks again.
Or once is plenty, but God bless you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh,
Huge.
Ellen Howell, DR70.
We can't hear you. Can you unmute?
Sorry.
So that's is that not the camera, is it? Or the,
It looks, to me, it looks like a Bell & Howell DR70 spring wound 16mm camera.
oh,
Yeah.
it is. I wasn't sure if it was the real or the,
Yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah.
The lens. Yeah.
I used to own one of those. I
That's so
loaned them.
cool.
I loaned them to an assistant of mine who was climbing Mount Everest. As she could only take a certain amount of film, she waited until she got to the top, figuring she would shoot from the top down just to be safe. And it was a good choice for Mount Everest because it doesn't require batteries. It has a big clockwork spring. And she makes it to the top of Mount Everest, and it had a folding, it was the model after the one you just displayed, it had a folding key wind. And she unfolds it and it goes bring and flies off the top of Mount Everest. And she's standing looking at this camera with no winding key. So she brought it back to me and I'm like, why does my camera look like a dog has been chewing on it? She's like, well, we lost the keys. We had to wind it with a Swiss Army knife. I'm like, thank you. Remind me to loan you more of my gear.
But it worked though.
There's
It
a fun
worked.
second
It
film
worked.
right there.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, a good film.
Benny Hill film.
Short film. But she got the film? She has stuff recorded?
She did. She did.
Oh, good. Yeah. But you didn't have a camera.
Yeah. So a few quick
So cool.
repairs later. Just
You in those videos, you said you're digitizing them?
Yeah, a few of them. I mean, there's too many to really do the whole thing. I mean, some of them are really quite interesting. They are of major sort of historic events. So those are the ones that we're picking out.
That's so cool. If you don't mind, are they like personal stuff or just stuff from
Some of
the
them
different
are personal. Some of them are, yeah. I mean, they're from family members and things like that.
That's so cool.
But also, I won't reveal my. I mean,
Okay.
I have.
It's just
No,
curious.
but I certainly have seen lots of transitions in filming from early 70s through to, yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome. That's cool. Film, I love film. I get super excited when I see stuff like that.
I have a whole refrigerator full of it in the other room.
That's awesome.
Waiting.
Awesome.
Waiting for the right project.
Nice. Thanks everybody. This has been so awesome. And again, thanks Mark for coming so last minute.
You're welcome. It was lovely to meet everybody.
Yeah,
And I'll see you again, I'm sure.